All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we're unpacking some truly fascinating source material to figure out exactly how your single individual vote actually decides the future of an entire nation. We're going to pull back the curtain on one of humanity's greatest inventions, the election. We'll trace the journey of a vote from a tiny polling booth all the way to the highest seats of government, breaking down the sheer mechanics of how this immense logistical machine actually works.
So let's jump into Section 1, the problem with kings.
Picture this. Imagine the absolute chaos of millions of people trying to shout their opinions all at once in a country-sized stadium. I mean, no microphones, no order, literally zero system in place. That brings us right to the ultimate logistical nightmare. How do 1.4 billion people make one single decision? To answer this massive, kind of impossible-sounding problem, we really have to look at how humanity evolved past its earliest forms of governance. Because, for most of human history, ordinary people simply never chose their rulers. They were stuck in a system where a single ruler decided everything for everyone. But what happens when that ruler is terrible, or when millions of voices suddenly demand to be heard?
The contrast here is pretty stark. On one hand, you've got ancient kings and emperors taking power through pure force or just sheer inheritance. And on the other, modern democracy, where citizens actually get a chance to decide. It was a completely revolutionary shift from coercion to collective consent. It's essentially society's way of answering the fundamental question, who should represent us? Instead of power being seized, it's granted by the public. We're basically taking the concept of mutual agreement and scaling it up to an entire nation.
Moving right along, Section 2, the three key players.
Now, this elegant democratic system, it obviously doesn't just run itself, right? It requires a very specific cast of characters to actually function peacefully. And first up is you, the voter. The source material really hammers home that citizens are the true ultimate decision makers. It's not the politicians, it's not the celebrities you see on TV, and it's definitely not the news channels. The eligible citizens are the ones who hold the actual power to make the final call.
Second, we have the candidates. These are the competitors stepping into the arena, presenting their promises, their plans, their ideas. Whether they belong to some massive political party or they're running completely independently, their whole goal is to compete for your attention. They have to convince you that they can do the absolute best job representing the public's interests.
And third is the Election Commission. Our source material draws a really perfect parallel here, comparing them to referees in a high-stakes match. I mean, think about it. They don't play the game, and they definitely don't support specific teams. Their entire job is to organize the voting, monitor the rules, count the votes, and announce the results. They are the neutral referees ensuring a fair game. Because without that strict neutrality, well, public trust just completely disappears, and the whole system would collapse.
All right, Section 3, the campaign battle.
So let's see how this builds into an intense competition of ideas before a single vote is even cast. Running a political campaign is actually just like launching a startup. Though honestly, it's pretty wild to think about the billions of dollars spent just to act like an energetic founder making a pitch. Candidates use rallies, roadshows, interviews, debates, and these massive social media campaigns to pitch their specific vision. Just like an entrepreneur looking for investors, candidates are looking for voters to believe in them. They explain the problems they see and exactly how they plan to solve them. But remember, a healthy democracy requires you, the voter, to think critically about these promises. You don't have to buy the pitch just because it sounds good.
Which brings us to Section 4, the journey of a vote.
So what actually happens when all the talking stops? Let's focus on Election Day itself, when millions of citizens step up to participate in the actual physical mechanics of democracy. The act of voting might seem small, but it's a profound micro-action that happens in 3 highly structured steps. Step 1, officials verify your identity to ensure one person equals exactly one vote. Simple enough. Step 2, you enter a private booth where no one watches and no one tells you what to choose. This secrecy is absolutely critical. It protects your freedom to vote based entirely on your own beliefs without any external pressure. And step 3, securely recording that single choice. It's just one click or one mark that takes a few seconds, yet it literally shapes years of governance.
The source uses a fantastic analogy here, describing your vote as a sealed letter. Once you cast it, election officials protect that letter, making sure it remains completely untouched and securely stored until it's time to tally every single valid choice. It's a massive, massive logistical operation designed to guarantee absolute accuracy. Because as we know, even a tiny difference can alter history.
Next up, Section 5, how votes become victories.
Once the voting ends, we finally get to look at the actual math to understand how a winner is crowned from the black box of the ballot. Say you have a scenario where candidate A wins with 45% against two others who get 35 and 20%. The really vital takeaway from this? Winning a democracy rarely requires a unanimous majority. It runs on plurality, simply securing more support than the alternatives. It doesn't necessarily require 100% of the support from every single citizen.
Now let's zoom out to the big picture. Think of it like a massive sports tournament. An election process often happens across many different regions, districts, or constituencies. Winning enough of these localized matches ultimately combines to give a candidate or a party the overarching power to form a government. Basically, win enough matches, you become the champion.
And finally, Section 6, Why Every Vote Matters.
To address that incredibly common doubt you've probably heard or, hey, maybe even felt yourself at some point, the idea that one single vote won't really make a difference, we have to look at one specific word: millions. Many elections worldwide are actually decided by incredibly small margins. But even beyond the math, democracy isn't powered by just one lone vote in a vacuum. It is powered by millions of individuals making a choice. It's a giant, collective conversation where citizens participate not by fighting and not by shouting over one another, but by making a deliberate, quiet choice.
It all comes down to this really powerful quote from our source material. Every government begins with something surprisingly small: a single vote. It perfectly captures how a tiny, micro-action, spending just a few seconds alone in a private booth, transforms into a massive, collective decision that literally builds and directs an entire nation.
To wrap up this explainer, I really want you to consider this. If your single vote is the foundational building block of a government, what happens to the entire structure when you choose to withhold it? Take a moment to reflect on the incredible, ever-evolving mechanics behind your democratic power. Whether it was the startup nature of a campaign, the absolute necessity of the neutral referee, or just the sheer scale of the math involved, I hope this breakdown illuminated the fascinating machinery working right behind the scenes. Keep exploring the mechanics of your vote, and as always, keep asking great questions.